Alright, good people. Here is a dev insights into final shape abilities, tuning. There's so much information in here, so y'all gotta hang with me. But a lot of it is important, alright? Abilities are changing and fragments, aspects, everything. Let's get right into it and let's start with stasis subclasses, alright? So there's gonna be a new thing called frost armor. What the hell is frost armor? You are fortified by layers of durable stasis matter, reducing incoming damage. Frost armor damage resistance grows stronger as you gain additional stacks. Those stacks are going to be worth 4.5% per stack, okay? And from enemy players, that's going to be 2% damage reduction per stack. Whisper of Rhyme is getting reworked, so no longer grants a stasis shard overshield when collecting a stasis shard, and instead is going to increase the maximum duration and stack count of your frost armor. Makes sense because there's new frost armor. Alright, and now all harvest aspects are being changed up. Okay, so they're adding a new behavior. While Grim, Tectonic, and Glacial harvest aspects are equipped, stasis shards grant a small amount of health and a stack of frost armor. Large stasis shards from Grim Harvest grant more health and frost armor stacks, and all harvest aspects now have a standardized cooldown when a large number of shards are created very quickly. For Tectonic Harvest specifically, it now creates a stasis shard when shattering a frozen target in addition to shattering stasis crystals. For Renewal Grass, we're getting into exotics now. For Renewal Grass, replace generic damage resistance with frost armor. So on entering your Duskfield grenade volume, you or your allies gain a stack of frost armor, and about every 0.9 seconds while in the volume, an additional frost armor stack is granted, resetting your timer. For Ballador's Wrath Weavers, they're going to replace Stasis Shard Overshield with Frost Armor when you activate your Rift or use Winter's Wrath Shatter attack. Alright, now they are making a brand new fragment called Whisper of Chill. Stasis weapon final blows have a chance to create a Stasis Shard. Not bad, I like that. And they're reworking Whisper of Chains. So no longer gives you passive damage resistance when near a stasis crystal or frozen target. Now it's going to give you a chance to create a stasis shard when killing a target when you have one or more stacks of frost armor. Want another rework? Here you go for Whisper of Fractures. No longer increases melee energy regeneration while surrounded by enemies. Now gives a stack of frost armor when you shatter any frozen target with a melee attack. Want another rework? Here we go. Whisper of Torment. Grenade energy gains are no longer dependent on your current health value. Base grenade energy regeneration amount per incoming damage event is increased from 5 to 7%. While you have frost armor, energy per damage event increases from 7 to 12%. Now, they got one more new stasis fragment that they're making called Whisper of Reversal. While you have frost armor, dealing or receiving a physical melee damage slows your victim or attacker down. Alright, now let's talk about Stasis Shatter. So they're increasing base PvE Stasis Shatter damage from 200 to 400%. And they're taking away an instance where when you hit a boss with Shatter, it will hit them 2 times, but the damage just got 2 timed. So it's still the same, if that makes sense, just without 2 different, like separate, y'all get what I'm saying. Okay. All right, that's it for Stasis updates. Let's move on to Warlock specifically. So for your Ice Flare bolts, increase maximum number of seekers created before going on cooldown from 5 to 7. For my Revenant Hunters out there, for Winter's Shroud, added new behavior. So slowing targets briefly increases your class ability regeneration rate, and bonus is reduced in PvP and now gives PvE damage reduction when activated. Alright, Touch of Winter. So when you have Touch of Winter equipped for your Glacier Grenade, you're getting an additional Stasis Crystal to form with the ring. So the total count is going from 6 to 7 crystals, and Glacier Grenade Ring now forms over 0.27 seconds rather than instantly. For your Cold Snap Grenade, it's not going to chain an additional time when you have Touch of Winter on anymore. Instead, Seekers now duplicate when they freeze a target. Second and third Seeker chains now create a medium and large Stasis Crystal respectively, rather than every chain creating a small crystal. For Silence and Squall, they're increasing Squall maximum travel speed by 10%. The storm now slows down when any target is within its area of effect to reduce instances where it just flies past them. And they're increasing damage and slow tick rate versus PvE enemies by about 40%, bringing its freeze time from approximately 0.8 seconds to half a second. For Titans, Shiver Strike, increased damage versus PvE combatants by 10%, increased size of melee target search area cone by about 50%. What does that mean? It just means your melee tracking should be better. They're increasing maximum lunge tracking angular speed from 7 degrees per second to 21 degrees per second. So your tracking is better, that's what that means. And Glacial Quake now automatically begins sprinting when the player throttles forward for Glacial Quake. Alright, for Cryoclasm, they're removing sprint time requirement. Cryoclasm now goes on cooldown for 4 seconds after one extended slide. Diamond Lance is also getting some changes, y'all, so here we go. They're increasing the thrown Diamond Lance detonation radius from 3.5 to 5 meters, increasing Diamond Lance slam detonation radius from 6.75 to 8 meters versus PvE, and Diamond Lance now shatters Stasis Crystals on impact. They're reducing Diamond Lance pickup interaction time from 0.2 to 0.1 seconds, and then increasing Diamond Lance pickup interaction radius from 0.7 to 3 meters, matching strand tangles. So that just means you're going to be able to pick it up faster and from a farther distance away. Okay, this is, oh boy, y'all. So Well of Radiance has already been nerfed, and Ward of Dawn has already seen some changes. There's more nerfs coming, and I'm not gonna say how I feel about this. I want to hear how y'all feel about this. So I'm gonna try very hard to be objective and chill about this, and let's talk about it. I don't want to tell, let's just get into it. Well of Radiance now grants Radiant for 8 seconds when players exit the Well of Radiance area. Good. Reduced player survivability while standing in the Well of Radiance. How much do they reduce it by? I will tell you. Pay attention. Okay, reduced healing per second from 100 to 50 health points, matching restoration times 2. Increased heal on cast from 40 to 300 points of health. And then reduce damage resistance versus non-boss combatants from 40 to 20%. Reduce damage resistance versus boss combatants from 40 to 10%. Note damage resistance versus enemy players is unchanged. And they're increasing the orbs that you can make while standing in the well by 1 more orb. Okay, y'all. I know one person out there is like, yay, I love this. All right, let me start. Okay, now for Ward of Dawn, I'm just joking around, y'all. Ward of Dawn, Armor of Light. Removed Armor of Light Overshield. Ward of Dawn now immediately applies a full void overshield to the caster and allies that enter its dome. Armor of Light now instead gives you additional damage resistance to players inside the bubble, 30% versus enemy players, and 60% versus enemies in PvE. Effective health of players inside the bubble remains roughly the same as it was before PvE combatants. Effective health of players inside the bubble is significantly lower than it was before versus other players in PvP and cannot be further increased by stacking Bastion barricades inside the bubble to gain additional overshield layers. So what does that mean? You know what people do in trials and PvP, they put down the bubble and they put down the Bastion barricade, makes them harder to kill. Not anymore. Alright, allies near the Ward of Dawn bubble now have Void Overshield trickled on over time, similar to the volume behind a Bastion barricade. It no longer provides Weapon of Light by default. Weapons of Light is being moved to the Helm of Saint 14 exotic. The bubble caster can now generate additional orbs of power by defeating enemies inside the bubble with melee attacks. Okay, and that's inside and near the bubble. And then we are moving on to arc subclasses. Tell me how y'all feel about those, y'all. I am very curious. Please tell me how you feel about those changes. Alright, arc subclasses. Hunter, Arc Staff, heavy palm strike attacks, and heavy air slam blind enemies now. Disorienting blows decrease base cooldown time from 100 seconds to 90 seconds. Tempest Strike added additional damage resistance versus PvE combatants when activated, so lingering for a short duration after the attack. For Warlocks, Lightning Surge. They put additional damage resistance in PvE when activated that lingers for a short time after the attack. And for Ball Lightning, increased the final arming shape by 30%. And they fixed an issue where the ball would just go up for no reason into the air. And now Chain Lightning. So Chain Lightning from Stormcaller. They're increasing secondary chain projectiles base damage from 27 to 54. So they're doubling it. Alright, moving on. For Titans, your Thunderclap. They're going to add more damage resistance in PvE when activated that lingers for a short duration after the attack. They're increasing minimum damage versus PvE combatants by 20%, increasing maximum damage in PvE by 33%, and increased maximum damage versus enemy players by 14%. For Knockout, they're increasing bonus damage granted to powered melee attacks versus PvE from 25 to 50%, and they're reworking the healing. So no longer does it unstun health regeneration on melee defeats. Now instantly grants a chunk of healing that scales with the type of target defeated. By how much? So if you kill a player, you get 30 points of health. A minor combatant, 50 points of health. A major combatant, 75. And a champion or higher combatant, 100 points of health. For Touch of Thunder, your Storm Grenade is going to get increased tracking travel speed when targeting PvE combatants by between 0.5 and 1 meters per second, increasing with the storm's lifetime. For Touch of Thunder, for your Lightning Grenade, when you have Touch of Thunder equipped, now applies Jolt after the first damage event versus waiting. And then for Arc Grenades, period. For Storm Grenade, it's getting more damage versus PvE by 20%. For Touch of Thunder is not being changed when you have Touch of Thunder, that's going to stay the same. For Skip Grenade, your damage versus PvE is going up by 15%, and same thing for Arc Bolt Grenades. Alright, for Arc Fragments, Spark of Recharge. Ability regeneration bonus now persists until the player returns to full shields, rather than deactivating as soon as shields begin to recharge. For Spark of Beacons, it now also triggers on defeating targets with arc power ammo weapons while amplified. And for Spark of Frequency, now also gives 15 weapon stability on powered melee hit, in addition to its reload benefit. Alright, moving into solar subclasses now, y'all. So for hunters, your lightweight knife is getting a nice little buff. It now has 2 melee charges by default. Your throw animation speed is going to be 33% faster. It's going to reduce the suppression time between throws. So now you can throw knives damn near back to back. And they say the additional melee charge does not stack with Ophidia Spade due to the exotic's unique energy recharge behavior, and they'll look at that and change it if they feel like they need to later on down the line. For Knock 'em Down, it's going to have reduced internal cooldown on throwing knife refund from 1 to 0.2 seconds. Now for Golden Gun Marksman, they're going to nerf how good your Orb of Power is from precision hits. Alright, so when hitting non-boss enemies, your strength of the orb is going to go from 0.75 times to 0.5 times. When hitting boss enemies, it's going to go from 0.75 times to 0.4 times. And when hitting boss enemies with Star Eater scales equipped, is getting reduced strength from 0.75 times to 0.35 times of a normal super orb of power. So just a nerf all around there. Alright, for Titans, your Consecration Slam Attack can now shatter stasis crystals. Little Pokemon action there, you know, fire versus ice, and you get it? You know what I'm saying? No? Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Ignitions generated by Consecration can now deal 20% additional damage to PvE combatants. They fixed an issue where Consecration Slam Attack was sometimes unable to damage floating combatants while they were grounded. Fixed an issue where Consecration's intended PvE damage resistance was not happening. For your Hammer of Soul, y'all, increase projectile submunition count when Soul Invictus is not equipped as follows. It's going to make more sense in a second. If the projectile detonates within the first 0.7 seconds of its lifetime, it now creates 4 shrapnel submunitions up from 3. If the projectile detonates the first or after the first 0.7 seconds, it now creates 6 shrapnel up from 5. And they say note, when Soul Invictus is equipped, only 3 shrapnel submunitions are created, regardless of flight time. Shrapnel submunitions now deal additional damage when Soul Invictus is not equipped, with the damage increasing after the first 0.7 seconds of the projectile's lifetime. Alright, for your Swarm Grenade, it's going to have increased tracking shape size from 4 meters to 6 meters, increasing the linger duration from 7 to 8 to 10 to 11 seconds, and then increased damage versus PvE by 20%. So buff all around. Now let's talk about Void subclasses, y'all. I know this is a lot, y'all. Stick with me. How you think I felt reading this? Okay, I hope y'all appreciate me breaking down a novel for y'all. Alright, Hunter. Snare Bomb. Increased linger duration of smoke after detonation from 3 seconds to 5. It now applies small damage over time to enemies in the smoke, which increases in strength the longer they keep on smoking. Smoking is bad, okay? Alright, Trapper's Ambush. Increased linger duration of the smoke after detonation from 4.5 to 6 seconds. Now applies snare bombs damage over time to enemies caught in its smoke. And they fixed an issue where Trapper's Ambush smoke effects could be obstructed by ground geometry. Alright, now for Stylus Executioner. Its weakened effect can now be applied by glaive melee attacks. For Titans, your shield throw is getting a nice buff here. Increase maximum bounce count from 4 to 5. Increase maximum lifetime by 1 second. Increases its tracking shape size and strength after each bounce, increasing its ability to consistently find a new target. It slightly increases gravity and decreased thrust speed after each bounce, and increased damage versus PvE by 20%. you're definitely going to be getting your Captain America on now. That's a good buff. Alright, for offensive bulwark, you can now only extend Void Overshield's timer to its normal maximum duration to prevent an issue where players could get into a bad timer state. Now regenerates a small portion of your active Void Overshield with each melee kill. For Warlocks, when you are using Chaos Accelerant, your charged magnetic grenade is going to have a maximum intensity of physics knockback impulse increased by 10%, just more knockback. They're increasing damage in PvE by 20%, and now passively decreases your magnetic grenade's cooldown by 10% while Chaos Accelerant is equipped. For your Pocket Singularity melee, the detonation damage in PvE is going up by about 50%, that's nice. And then for your Nova Bombs, for your Slova Bomb, is going to have increased Seeker count by 2 more Seekers, and they're going to fix an issue where Seekers could impact the environment on creation and be lost. For your Vortex Bomb, it's going to increase the Vortex Linger from 7 to 10 seconds, stays around longer, and they fixed an issue where the Linger visual effects were shutting off early. Alright, last but not least, y'all, strand subclasses. Going right into it. Alright, for Thread of Warding, they're getting reduced woven mail duration on orb pickup from 10 seconds to 5 seconds. Ooh, that hurts. Alright, Hunter, your ensnaring slam. The detonation volume versus enemy players is now a cylinder with a 6.5 meter radius versus an 8-meter spear. Why did they do this? They say this results in fewer instances of victims correctly attempting to counterplay by jumping, but being caught by the ensnaring slam detonation high up in the air. And then Threaded Spike, you're going to get reduced damage versus enemy players by 9, and catching your Threaded Spike when you're invisible won't take away your invisibility. Alright, for Warlocks now. Weaver's Call. They added defeating a target with strand damage now has a chance to generate a perched threadling with a higher chance of generation from defeating more powerful enemies. And this damage can be from any source, including other threadlings. Now, Grapple, Tangles, and Melee period. Let's talk about those. Grapple Tangles no longer fully refresh their duration when grappled to, and they now increase their duration by a maximum of 5 seconds per grapple, reducing to a maximum of 1 second added after 5 consecutive grapples to the same grapple tangle. And then for Titans, for Into the Fray, they're going to reduce your melee energy regen scaler from 4 times to 3 times in PvE activities, and is unchanged in PvE activities. So Into the Fray is just getting a PvE nerf. Banner of War. I know y'all paying attention now, right? Banner of War. Okay, reduce maximum timer by 6 seconds. Melee, Glaive Melee, and Super Damage bonus now have diminishing returns with Synthoceps as follows. Melee bonuses decrease from 1.4 times to 1.15 times. Glaive Melee is decreased from 1.25 times to 1.12 times. Super bonuses decreased by 1.4 times to 1.2 times. And Melee and Glaive Melee damage bonuses now have diminishing returns with Worm God Caress as well. So with Worm God, melee bonuses decrease from 1.4 times to 1.1 based on stat count, and Glaive melee bonuses decrease from 1.4 times to 1.05 times based on stat count. And then for your Frenzy Blade, they're reducing the forward offset for melee lunge target point from 0.4 meters to 0.18 meters. What does that mean? That means when you lunge forward, it's going to have less of a chance for you to go like left or right too much. It's just getting it more accurate, basically, okay? All right, y'all. Gosh damn, this is so much information, so much information. I hope I helped you by reading this long freaking novel. If you want to help me back, if you're new, please subscribe, please hit the bell, and please y'all do not underestimate the help of a free like and a comment. I really need the help to grow this channel. If you think anybody else can get, something out of these videos, please share them as well. But most importantly, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching already. And if you missed all the other crazy news for Final Shape from this week's weekly video that I do about the Destiny 2 news, I'll put that in the comment. Please check that out and show that some love. Thanks, y'all. I'm out.